Two questions in the back. All right.
First question, say supports Apache v2 versus license under Apache v2. Speak about that difference. That's number one. Number two is how do you protect customers? My experience, by the way, many school, I experienced the platform for what I saw there, but right away, my first thought was, when I create a model, I put light code in it. And so how do you prevent someone running bytecode loaded in like exploited sort of a model, because they will be running that on their data and essentially make the data stored.
Okay, so the first one is a good catch. So all the models that are going to the catalog today are covered under the Apache 2 license. That's the models that we support today. We'll be expanding that to other licensing approaches as we move forward in the platform. So, so they are licensed under Apache 2. That's the basis of Linux Foundation as true open source models. So the marketplace will have open source models and models licensed in other environments. The platform is always licensed under Apache 2. The second one about exploits, this is work that is going on across the entire industry. I think IBM even talked a little bit about it. In Acumos, we have several areas that are actively working as well to try to use part of the onboarding. We have a process called validation from the beginning that works to validate the models. But it's all work still in progress. It's not unique to Acumos and machine learning models. Some of this are issues that are being addressed across the wider software marketplace. Today, people are looking at things like blockchain, people are looking at signatures, people are looking at encryption. There's a host of tools. I don't think the industry has yet come to what we consider the ideal solution, but Acumos is engaged to try to leverage those activities and track the source, some of the revision control, some of the fingerprinting, some of the blockchain are all things that are in discussion. So it's not an answer we quite have yet. But we are bringing forth some tools and trying to work with the broader industry on how they want to solve those problems. Go ahead, Ruben.
Can I make a comment? Also, I don't know if I can be heard from here or not, but I talk loud. In addition to what Jack pointed out, right? When you publish your model, it doesn't mean you're giving your model away, right? Yes, right now we're focused on open source models, but I just want to emphasize that Boreas closed source is one of the things that we're doing, but the infrastructure for controlling the access to your model is being built there. So the federation gives you the ability to limit who sees what model, and the catalog that you're publishing to is really only a listing of models. The information that you're sharing is you control how much you want to share. So as we move forward, you're going to see the licensing component coming in, and what you'll actually get is not only feedback on who's using your model and where it's being used, but also errors that you're getting. Very much the same sort of functionality that one expects from an app store when you distribute any software.
I think it's a popular question that you asked. All of us are, just waiting to answer your question. But I think it's like Ruben and Jack mentioned, there's an aspect of federation. I mean, you control access of the model in terms of who has to consume it. So since you own the model, you have the rights to make it public, or pretty much make it available within a closed group, within a company marketplace. But like I said, it's just not about models; it's also about the platform, right? The platform also has features. So the choice you make is, or rather, you decide whether you just want to contribute models for someone else to consume or for yourself to consume, or also add features to the platform, things that are licensing, things like test harness, things like federation. All of these are features that somebody can consume without having to worry about IP, right? So that's pretty much in the realm of open source as well. So it's a mix of the utility the platform provides relative to what probably using more than 10 tools to do the same functionality, in addition to the models that one gets to consume in the catalog. So that's how we've envisioned this whole platform and marketplace.
Good, thanks. Thank you for the questions. I'll bring it back to competing efforts out there. Are you, any of you in the audience aware of any similar but competing efforts that maybe have features that we should emulate, or particular aspects of them that we should be looking into?
I heard
Domino.
Mhm.
allow you to frequent change. I think the real power is
Mm-hmm. Are you guys familiar with Domino? Who's behind that? Is that a?
I've heard about it, but we need to look into it.
Well, there's a couple. I mean, there's even Algorithmia who hosts a site with many models on it. But again, it's a single source. It's a private site. Really, I think the goal here for the Deep Learning Foundation is really to bring a community solution together and advance some of those hard problems, as IBM, kind of highlighted at the keynote. This isn't we're 30 years into this journey and we're still starting, right? It's very common for challenging, but very, high potential technologies to take time and to get evolved. And that it's only through a larger community and diversity of view, can we get it to where it really addresses the needs. And for AT&T, that diversity is true in our business too, because we're involved in all these different areas. We're not looking for one workload that we just optimize and we do that, right? We're not just a speech company. Yes, we have many years in speech, and yes, we use speech. But for it to really affect every part of our business and to be effective in every part of our business, that's our goal. And we need a broad solution that we think only an open source and a community can bring forward.
It's also an effort to standardize, right? In Acumos, you consume the model as a microservice. So I'm not sure if there are other solutions out in the market, but I think the goal out here is to complement, not really compete. So as long as there's something that is done to standardize the way AI and the assets will eventually be consumed, I think we're all up for it. So Acumos is one step, in terms of standardizing AI.
Very good. If you guys out there have questions, just raise your hand. Otherwise, I'll keep asking them. Oh, okay, great. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, please.
Universal, one size fits all. Great. This is perfect. But I would really like to hear on the panel the foreseeable business model down the road, right? When we put in all the contribution, effort, work, great. What are the foreseeable business models?
So I think.
Okay, I'm sorry. Just I'll repeat it just in case the question didn't come across. You didn't have a microphone. What is the business model behind Acumos? How are companies going to justify their investment in resources?
So we saw earlier in Anwar's last slide that the number two, just after the pipelines, number two priority for the next release is the licensing. And with it, I believe that it will be fairly easy and straightforward to commercialize models and federate models that are associated with licensing. And then it would be easy for companies to share models with other companies and monetize on them. This is one option. Other options, of course, you can think about many other services on top of AI machine learning that are not specifically associated with Acumos, but Acumos can be like the basic solution that you build on top of.
Being from a services company, let me probably share my views. Okay, so I think it's increasingly evident that AI is a case of mass customization, right? That means you have a model that's set out, so image detection, for example, right? Use it. So I think Susan mentioned cats today, but probably somebody use it for equipment inspection, right? So I think the underlying algorithm is same, but the way you want to train it for the different class of objects is going to be different. That means it has to be customized, right? Now, given Acumos gives you a base model, which you can probably consume by retraining it with your class, it involves customization, right? So from a check manager standpoint, or probably from any other services come and looks at it, you have a platform to to basically consume, and you have models that you have to retrain and implement your use case, right? So the way we look at it is, hey, there is data that's strategic to your business, which obviously will not go outside, will be serving your customers, but you use Acumos as the internal platform from an enterprise grade version for you to implement use cases by leveraging the models and retraining it. So there is a customization work that has to be done on Acumos. And second, from the open source standpoint, yes, you have the models, you have the features, but you have your own, say, data sources, you have your own data brokers that, again, you want to use internally. Who does that? So there has to be some element of a commercial offering that somebody should provide on Acumos. So that's what we think, we would eventually do to realize the adoption of Acumos from a business application in terms of solving use cases for your customers. So that's how we envision it, in addition to our commitment to open source. Sorry, Jack.
Do you have any idea of why Amazon, Google or Facebook have not open source their platforms to consume and customize model? I would probably give you as an example, Facebook MP Learner, because so a really impressive book given by on this platform. And this is an amazing platform for all app for all Facebook employees to consume the models and then transfer away.
Right.
It's very sophisticated. And I'm sure Google and Amazon are the same.
You want to take a shot?
Well, so I think that's actually a question for Scott and Linux Foundation, right? It's really, I think it's really a question about, do they want to pursue an open source, approach to those pieces that they build, or do they consider it something that they want to keep internal as a differentiator in their business? Each company has to make those decisions, but Scott from the Linux Foundation is really the contact and the person who's involved in many of those discussions. And so he's the person that you can really talk to about that, because he's the one that knows what's going on and knows what he can say. And he's the right person for that.
Yeah, and probably as long as they don't tie you to your infra and their platform, and give the flexibility of implementing that use case on the assets across the board, just not that specific infra, I think that could be a great reason for them to make it open source or standardized. If that's not the case, there is an inherent reason for them to consume the services they provide. And I think Amazon and everybody is pretty much does that.
And let me just finish with saying that, look, Acumos and the Open Source Deep Learning Foundation's mission is to bring the best tools together. I don't care where they come from, where they started. They just have to be the best tools. People have to be interested in them in the community, and they have to, be applicable to more than a single company or solution. And if it meets those criteria, we can bring it into open source, then Acumos is more than willing to have that discussion led by the Deep Learning Foundation and Linux Foundation.
Not to put you on the spot, Scott, but Jack just put you on the spot.
So, thank you. I won't go into any specific conversations that we're having, other than to say that we're interested in speaking with organizations throughout the broader ecosystem. We are focused on building community. There is significant value in a community. I would posit, and this is my own personal opinion, even in the case of fast-growing projects, there is still value to be presented to them by offering the developer diversity that a community represents. So we're having active communications, and I think all of the organizations in general that were named have a very strong understanding of the value proposition of open source. Personally, one of the predictions that I made earlier, I think we will see over time a shift from, and this is very normal for the start of projects in any technology space. First, you have owner-dominated technologies, and then they turn into community over time. And I think we'll see that. Making specific predictions either on time or participants, that's always challenging to make. But as long as all of us stay focused on the value that our ecosystem as it grows provides, I think everything else will come into place.
All right, I think I'm going to make one more comment to your comment, Patrick, which is that those companies have really smart people, but they're focused on problems that those companies are seeing, right? And so there's a lot of other industries out there outside of search and social networking and online sale, whatever those companies do, that, you know, AT&T is interested in networking, right? There may be problems in machine learning that those companies don't care about. We care about it. Maybe there's other people who can contribute to open source. I think that there's a lot of opportunity to expand the horizons of who can contribute, and it will benefit the whole community. So with that, do we have time for one last question? Yes, I'll ask over here. Okay. I'm sorry, I missed the question.
The question was, are there plans to make Acumos part of IETF for ITU? Anybody answer that one?
So since we're all looking at blank stares, the obvious answer is there is no current plan to do that. Be happy to get educated as to why you think that would be important, but right now that's not. Clearly, you see that across Linux Foundation projects like ONAP, Acrano. I know you're hearing these words repeating from some of Mazen's discussions. These are certainly important junction points for AT&T, so I can speak to those. I can't speak to all.
Let's have a conversation during lunch. One last quick question from the back.
How do you approach the training of enterprise? If, let's say you have a large company and one person data models, and then let's sort of data science. You have a big package, PowerPoint presentation, or messengers and that.
Right. The question was about training of enterprise users. How are we going to help companies train their employees on how to use and leverage Acumos?
So right now we're at the point with our first release where we do a lot of recordings, like you've seen here today. We're doing a lot of education on the development side. We have had some discussions with Linux Foundation how to put more of a course together in terms of using it. And you can see several demos out there. YouTube has some, and some other environments to let people get started. But it's probably one of our next to-dos as part of the process, now that we've established our real public release. That was kind of part of our challenge, was to get this baseline there. So now we can kind of do training and other activities related to that.
Okay, great. Thanks guys for your participation. Let's thank our panel. These are great topics to continue over lunch, which we have right now. And I'll give another plug to the event we have later this afternoon at the Tribeca Tap House. So make sure you stick around for that. We're going to break for lunch. I believe lunch is in the back. We're going to come back here in a little less than an hour at 1:40. Thank you.